Dynasty is all about player valuation, especially when it comes to player versus player. If you're looking to make a trade, upgrade your team, whatever it is, it's all about how you value players. And for some reason, the consensus is completely wrong when it comes to valuing these players. But don't worry, I'm here to set the record straight. Let's start with a couple of wide receivers, Garrett Wilson and Rashee Rice. And for some reason in Dynasty, Garrett Wilson is still valued higher than Rashee Rice, despite the fact that Rashee Rice has been better. Not just better, much better than Garrett Wilson. Rashee Rice has been a stud pretty much every healthy game he has played with Patrick Mahomes. Also, the age difference, you don't even get much of an age discount here with Garrett Wilson. It's like half a year younger. That is almost meaningless. But really, what does Garrett Wilson have going for him over Rashee Rice other than that half a year gap? Nothing. That's right, he's got nothing. Let's see. Jets, Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs, please. Geno Smith, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I think I'll pretty easily take Patrick Mahomes here. And also, what did the Jets do this offseason? Oh, let's see. They drafted the best tight end in the class, one of the best wide receivers in this class. Meanwhile, the Chiefs did pretty much nothing at the wide receiver room. I mean, really, how can you possibly value Garrett Wilson ahead of Rashee Rice unless you're just so worried about Rashee Rice's off-the-field stuff that you're like, this guy's going to be out of the league in a year or two, which, okay, maybe that's the way it goes, but he's already not facing any discipline for the domestic abuse stuff he was accused of. So really, what is the worry here for Rashee Rice? He checks every single box that Garrett Wilson does not check. I just cannot understand how people would prefer Garrett Wilson over Rashee Rice. I would happily give you Garrett Wilson to get Rashee Rice on my fantasy team. He's actually good and actually scores fantasy points and is in a better situation. And you know what? Let's stick with the Jets and the Chiefs, but let's go to running back this time because for some reason, Breece Hall is only valued one spot behind Kenneth Walker, despite the fact, again, Kenneth Walker is in the Chiefs offense and Breece Hall is stuck in the Jets offense. And I don't know. I don't get this at all. Again, we're only talking about a half-year age difference here. They're basically the same age. Why would I take the running back on a 3-year deal with the lowly Jets, who I have no confidence in ever turning this around, when I can get the running back on a 3-year deal with the Chiefs? Probably one of the best offenses in the NFL, especially since they brought Eric Bieniemy back. And it's not like Kenneth Walker is bad. We saw last year when he was the guy, when Charbonnet was out of the way, he was a monster. We've seen in years past when he's been the guy, he's been really good. Have we ever been able to say that about Breece Hall? Like, has this guy ever really been really good? Ever? I mean, really, ever? Sure, blame injuries, blame the Jets. I was very high on Breece Hall as a prospect. I like Breece Hall as a player, but the situation isn't going to get any better there in New York anytime soon. I have full confidence in the Chiefs situation. I mean, give me Kenneth Walker by a mile here over Breece Hall. And now let's get to quarterback, and I still think Jordan Love is one of the most overvalued quarterbacks in Dynasty, especially in your Superflex leagues. He's somehow being ranked one spot in QB terms ahead of Dak Prescott. Now, I know Jordan Love is younger, but look, unless you're in a league that scores fantasy points for age, it doesn't matter. Jordan Love just doesn't score fantasy points. This guy's never averaged 20 points per game. The last 2 years, he's only averaged 16 points per game. Meanwhile, in 5 of the last 7 years, Dak Prescott has averaged 19 or more fantasy points. He's averaged 20 or more in 4 of those years. And the only year he was under 17 points per game was the year he got hurt and only played 8 games. I mean, look, if your goal is to win a Dynasty championship and actually score fantasy points and actually have a good team, you should much prefer to have Dak Prescott on your team. He's in a fantasy-friendly offense with the Cowboys. He's got CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson. I mean, it's just a much better situation here. And he's still only 32 years old. Like, for QB, 32, especially these days, is nothing. We're talking about 3, 4, maybe 5 more good years still from Dak Prescott. Just give me the guy who actually scores fantasy points. Now, you know rookies are always like overvalued, overhyped in fantasy, but Jordan Tyson is already ranked higher or valued higher than Ladd McConkey. I mean, look, I know Ladd McConkey had a down year last year, but we've seen Ladd McConkey be great his rookie year. Now we're looking at a rookie who's played exactly as many snaps in the NFL as you and I have, who's also behind Chris Olave, a true wide receiver one. And we're just going to say already we're going to rank this guy higher than Ladd McConkey. We're going to value this guy higher than Ladd McConkey. Like, no chance this guy can bust at all. Like, rookies never bust. They always come out and they're great. Look, I like Tyson. I think Tyson's a good prospect. I think if Tyson was in, say, like the 2023 class where we had, BTJ, Marvin Harrison, and Neighbors, people probably wouldn't be as high on Tyson as they are right now, but he was in a weak class, so he gets elevated up a little bit. But just give me the proven wide receiver who now has Mike McDaniel as his offensive coordinator. No Keenan Allen there. He's going to be the wide receiver one in this offense again. It's going to be a much, much better offense. One of the most fantasy-friendly offenses because Mike McDaniel is a fantasy cheat code for offenses. And he's still only entering year 3. It's not like this guy is old or getting dusty here. Many, many more good years left for Ladd McConkey. Just give me the sure thing. I mean, nothing's a sure thing, but the more sure thing of Ladd McConkey rather than the potential upside or bust of a rookie. And then speaking of that 2023 wide receiver class, why is BTJ being valued higher than Marvin Harrison? I understand why both these guys have lost a lot of value, but what does BTJ have that Marvin Harrison doesn't have other than his rookie year, he was better than Marvin Harrison. But last year BTJ was terrible. Marvin Harrison was pretty terrible too, but he also dealt with, injuries for pretty much the second half of the year. But really, when I look at this, it's like, okay, Marvin Harrison is the wide receiver one in his offense. And before you start commenting down below about Michael Wilson, go back and look at the games with Jacoby Brissett when Marvin Harrison was healthy and on the field, and you'll see Michael Wilson was barely targeted in those games. Marvin Harrison is the wide receiver one here. He's competing with Trey McBride and, yes, I guess to a lesser degree, Michael Wilson. Meanwhile, BTJ is not even the wide receiver one on his own team. The Jaguars not only had so little confidence in him last year that there was talks they were trying to trade him, they went out and traded for Jacoby Myers and then instantly signed him to an extension. And you look at it from weeks 13 on in this Jacksonville offense, when BTJ came back from his injury and was fully healthy, ready to go, he was third behind Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington in targets over that stretch. 15 less targets than Jacoby Myers over those games. He might not even be the wide receiver one on this team. At least Marvin Harrison is the wide receiver one. He was one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in years. I would much rather bet on that than BTJ. Then finally, back to running back. DeAndre Swift has gone from that young, hyped up running back to the guy that's just kind of now viewed as yeah, he's fine. Meanwhile, RJ Harvey, kind of the new hyped up young running back. And for some reason, RJ Harvey is only ranked one spot below DeAndre Swift, even though, again, DeAndre Swift clearly in a better situation here. He's the RB1 in a Ben Johnson offense. Now, you can argue maybe it's a 1A, 1B with Kyle Monangai. It really wasn't last year. Monangai wasn't as involved as it felt like. Look, that could change. Monangai going into year 2, that could certainly change. But even if it does, DeAndre Swift's in a Ben Johnson offense behind one of the best offensive lines. Meanwhile, RJ Harvey, okay, sure, he's in a Sean Payton offense. That's great for running backs. But they signed J.K. Dobbins. They brought him back on a 2-year deal. They drafted Jonah Coleman. They had so much confidence in RJ Harvey, they would just let this guy be the guy going into year 2. Not to mention, yeah, RJ Harvey is younger than DeAndre Swift, but probably not as much younger as you would think. This guy is already into his age 25 season because he came into the league, very late in terms of age goes. It's very rare that running backs like this, really pan out long term. He's already getting up there in age, and Swift is still only 27 years old. Look, Swift may not be the most exciting. He may not have a massive ceiling, but DeAndre Swift gives you, consistent, good fantasy production. And again, that's what really matters in Dynasty, scoring fantasy points. And if you want to score the most fantasy points in your league this year and dominate and win your championship, you need to stay tuned to Dynasty Endgame all off season long. And if you missed any of our previous videos, don't worry, you can catch up in our playlist right here.